Good afternoon, and thank you for taking the time to listen to my speech today. Today I will be speaking to you about someone who captivated and moved so many people, including myself, and I am glad that you've joined me. We all have people in our lives who we consider role models, and who we think are true heroes. But what does it truly take to be a hero? Does the person have to change the lives of millions of people? Do they have to be willing to die for what they believe in? Martin Luther King Jr. changed the lives of so many people and was willing to sacrifice his own for the good of others. If that's not the definition of a selfless leader, then I don't know what is. I can only wish that I was in the crowd on that day where he gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. Then maybe I could have my life changed too. Martin Luther King Jr. was alive at one of the darkest times in the United States history, the era of discrimination. The African American population was being discriminated from everything that they did. According to an article on History.com, African Americans were required to sit on the back of the bus and attend segregated schools. They even had to drink out of a different water fountain than the white people did. This is crazy to us today, but back then it was the norm. But just because something is the norm doesn't mean it's right. Dr. King was fed up with these laws and was also fed up with no one standing up for what they knew was right. Then, Martin Luther King Jr. gave one of the most famous speeches of all time to inspire African Americans and white people to coincide as one. In his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, he says, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the meaning of its true creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." And to this day, that is one of the most powerful quotes ever, and it still gives me chills when I hear it. This speech definitely served its purpose and motivated people all over. According to an article on Find Law, a website with information about laws that have passed, in 1964, just 1 year after the famous speech, the poll tax was abolished. And just another year later, in '65, the Voting Rights Act was passed, which abolished discriminatory voting practices. All of this was because of one man who saw there was something wrong with the world and stood up and demanded a change. Then, on the evening of April 4th, 1968, it all changed. According to an article on International Business Times, King stepped out of his room around 6 p.m. or so and was shot and killed on his balcony. This marked the end of a legacy, and 3 days later, President Lyndon Johnson declared a national day of mourning, in which the entire nation mourned the death of one of the most influential men to ever walk this earth. His funeral showed how well loved he truly was, as more than 100,000 mourners followed his coffin through the streets of Atlanta. That speaks for itself. He was so well liked and followed by everybody. Even though the famous Martin Luther King Jr. has passed on, I think it's very safe to say that he will have a lasting impact on the world for the rest of time. He was willing to step out and stand up for what he so strongly believed in. Sometimes all it takes is one person, and he was that one person who was willing to lead and start the change. He sacrificed his life for the betterment of everybody else's, and that is why I believe he is one of the most important men of all time and will always continue to inspire. Dr. King had a dream. Do you? Thank you all for listening today. I really appreciate it.